Welcome to episode 84 of the Woolly Thistle podcast, coming to you from the gorgeous state of New Hampshire. Today is Friday, September 14th, and I'm your host, Corinne Clare. This episode is sponsored by thewoollythistle.com. The Woolly Thistle brings the best of British yarns and European yarns to us here in the United States and Canada. Let the Woolly Thistle do the international shipping so you don't have to. Thank you, new and returning listeners. It's great to have you back with us. And I hope that you have been able to find the podcast with its new name okay. The Woolly Thistle podcast should have come through your feed automatically. If it didn't, I would delete your subscription and then resubscribe. But I haven't heard from anybody having any problems with it. So hopefully it's just all coming through automatically. And if you have found me here, well done. We're good. How is everybody doing after kids going back to school and the summer finally cooling down? Here, we've had some lovely cooler weather, sweater weather even, and today it's raining. So I've been enjoying getting my sweaters on. I've worn my Tidal Autumn Tee by Patricia of Tidal Yarns. And I really enjoy wearing that. I've worn that quite a bit. And I've worn my Lovage sweater, which I posted on Instagram because I realized I didn't really ever post a proper finished object of take 2 of that sweater. And you guys loved it. And I love wearing it. It's one of my favorites. And I even tried on my Silver Forest sweater, which is a recent finish and which I finished during the summer. So when I tried it on, I was really not feeling like wearing wool. So I tried it on in this nice cool weather and I love it. I had changed the length of the body. It was quite long before and I had decided that that was too long. So I ripped it back and redid the waistband at some point in the late summer. So this was the first time trying it on with the new length and it's perfect. I love it. And I think this is a very strong contender for my Rhinebeck sweater. So I'm going to Rhinebeck. I hope you are too. And if you are, I'll be at the podcaster meetup. But that's all for news for another day. So let's get started, shall we? This episode includes Off the Needles, On the Needles, Cal News, the Woolly Thistle update, and a quick wrap up. So off the needles, I finished a hat. I knitted Tin Can Knits Antler Hat, which is a hat that I go to quite often for gift knitting. And I wanted to test knit the Ullcentrum yarn that I recently put in the shop. And this is a worsted weight, it's sort of a light worsted weight yarn from Sweden. And it's absolutely glorious. It is 100% Swedish wool spun in Sweden. It's got a lovely gloss to it, I think. And I'm going to double check this, but I'm fairly certain that there is Gotland in there. And it kind of shows in that it's got a lovely silkiness to it. And I knitted this hat within a day or two, and it was a really nice break from knitting sweaters. And the Antler Hat is a great pattern. It's free on Ravelry by Tin Can Knits, and it's got cables that run up the side and decrease as you do the crown decreases. And it's a toque. And I stuck a big furry pom-pom on the end as well, just for fun. So the cables are popping in this yarn. It's beautiful. Also, the hand of the yarn is really nice to knit with, and it's beautiful in the skein, and it's just perfect once it's knitted up. So I think I would like to have a sweater in this at some point, maybe something with a few cables in it. I've got it in several different colours, which are over dyed on grey yarn. So it's got that lovely depth of colour, and it has a fairly high sheen on it. I think for wool it's quite glossy, so it's lovely. So that's my off the needles. And on the needles, I seem to be very monogamously knitting the Rosamund sweater by Marie Wallin. And that pattern is found in her Bloomsbury book, which features Rowan felted tweed. And I'm knitting the Rosamund sweater, which is a ribbed sweater with cables on it. And I've finished both sleeves. And of course, this is knitted in pieces, which is the first time I'm knitting anything in pieces. So I've knitted both sleeves flat, and now I'm working my way up the front. And I finished the waistband, and now I'm doing the body, and I have already started the first center cable up the front, and I'm now joining cables 2 and 3, which are on either side of that first middle cable. So I think this is going to zoom right along. As you know, I'm a continental knitter, and ribbing is much easier, I think, when you're, or it's much faster anyway, when you're a continental knitter. So the ribbing is actually not a bother whatsoever. It's just zooming right along. So I'm enjoying it. And this is being knitted on US 3s. And it feels like there's an awful lot of stitches on these pieces. And if I was to stretch the rib out, yes, it would be gigantic. But I think the idea is that the rib will stay quite closed. And it is an oversized sweater with about 8 to 10 inches of ease already. So I don't think I'm going to be pulling this to shape it out. I think I'm going to be keeping it nice and keeping those rib sections nice and tight so that it has a nice hanging effect on it. So I'm probably a third of the way up the front, so it shouldn't take too long. It does feel like very long rows after doing the sleeves, I will admit that. Moving on to Cal news, of course we have the Woolly Thistle sweater Cal going on right now, and you can use hashtag TWT Sweater Cal 2018 when you're posting on Instagram, so keep that coming. The finish date isn't until October 24th, so we have ages yet, and from what I can see in the Ravelry group, in the chatter thread, lots of you are making fair progress, and that's wonderful, and there's lots of fantastic chatter in there, and we even have an FO in the finished objects thread already. So the Cal is to knit an adult size sweater with sleeves, or you could have chosen an all over Fair Isle vest without sleeves. I'm not sure if anybody has done that. I need to double check that. And you can find all the details on the Woolly Thistle Ravelry group. If you're a fairly fast knitter and you want to join in, you still have lots of time. So please do. It's open to everybody. The only rule is that you use yarn, or at least 80% of the yarn you use in your sweater must have been bought at the Woolly Thistle. We're keeping it a fun Cal and allowing projects that are already started to join in. And of course, now that the Cal is started, that's totally fine as well. So yeah, check out the group for the rules. All the rules are in the first post of the chatter thread in the Woolly Thistles Ravelry group thread. And we have wonderful designers offering up prizes and books for the end of the Cal prize. And the grand prize, of course, is a $100 gift certificate to the Woolly Thistle, which I think is really nice. And yeah, I'm throwing out there some prizes along the way for chatter in the thread to keep everybody incentivized to keep checking in and saying hello and helping each other out and encouraging each other, and you guys are doing that. So from time to time I will put a prize out there and the winner will be picked at random, and then sometimes I'll do that on Instagram too. So yeah, keep on knitting and keep on chatting. It's all good. The Woolly Thistle update. The Woolly Thistle is doing great, and as always, I really appreciate you shopping with me and telling your friends about the shop, as well as sharing Instagram posts when your order arrives, and you can use hashtag the Woolly Thistle when doing that. This all helps immensely to get the word out about the shop. As many of you that shop with me already know me, but there's so many people out there who don't know the Woolly Thistle exists, so your help in spreading the word is really appreciated and really critical to help with the growth of the shop so that I can keep bringing in this wonderful yarn. Lacquer Tor had its launch, and it came in and flew out the door almost as quickly as it arrived. And I'm sorry if you missed out. As far as I know, there is no more Tor to go around. If there is, I will definitely get more for you, but This is a limited edition, and it was even more scarce than brushwork last year. So I'm not expecting to get more. But this was a lovely worsted Aran white yarn with Romney and Merino, both from Devon in southern England. They were both crosses. There was a Romney cross and a Merino cross. There was some Shetland and North Ronaldsay in there, as well as a tiny bit of alpaca. And so that made a beautiful yarn in 5 lovely colours and a natural. And I had the maximum allowance I could get from Blacker, and it sold very, very quickly. So thank you for your support of that. Blacker's birthday yarns are always special, always very limited in supply, and very special in its makeup. So thank you. Lens 6, we opened up pre-orders on September 1, and we expect the magazine to launch on September 28th. Rumour has it that this issue will sell out very quickly, so be sure to pre-order yours if you want one. There's plenty in the shop still, as I've ordered in a lot, and there's really some wonderful patterns coming out of this issue using several yarns that the Woolly Thistle stocks. One of the sweaters, and I think is Annie Claire's sweater on the cover, is knitted using Blacker's Shetland DK, and I have a little bit of that. It's not in the shop yet, but I'll be putting it in the shop soon. And I am hoping to get a bit more from Blacker. They're very low on their Shetland DK stock though. So what I have will be pretty much what I have. There's also socks designed by Andrea Mowry out of Tuku sock wool. So that's going to be great too. And there's just lots of great stuff in this issue. So be sure to pre-order yours. And let's see what else. Handy Woman by Kate Davies made it over the water and is here. And I'm on my second round of stocking this book. It's selling out quickly. So if you see it in the shop and you're interested, I would recommend you order it. And Shetland Wool Week. I have had so many emails about this, which is fantastic. Yes, I'll be stocking Shetland Wool Week 2018. I even have a full page ad in there, so I'm excited to be included in that. They are busy with their preparations and hosting of the Shetland Wool Week, so it will be after that before I get my order. But yes, I will have an order coming in, and you can order it as soon as it comes in. And I will consider opening up pre-orders for that. If I do that, that'll be quite soon, and I will let you know on Instagram or through a newsletter. But you'll get to know. Let's see what else. In the shop, I want to highlight Einrum because I have new colours in that. And this is an Icelandic finger ring weight yarn with a strand of silk wrapped around it, which is just a beautiful yarn. You've got the sticky woolliness of the Icelandic wool at a nice thin gauge. So it's very light and very airy. And then you've got this strand of silk around it. So when you knit up the fabric, it has a shimmer as well as this fluffiness about it. I knitted my Camilla sweater, which was in Len issue 4. And I know it's Lina. It's stuck as Len in my head. And I love that sweater. It's one of my favorites. And I love it because A, it's a fantastic design. But B, I love the yarn that I knitted mine with. And so I have more of that just arrived in stock. Several colours to choose from. And the red is absolutely beautiful. So if you're starting to think of holiday knitting and maybe a gorgeous holiday sweater to wear around the holidays, the red would be phenomenal. Just saying. But there's a couple of blues in there that I haven't had before, as well as the natural colours. So check that out. It's really a really nice yarn. Tuku is in great supply right now. Rauma is in great supply, and I'm adding more shades of the strict yarn as we speak. In fact, I have a huge order arriving early next week. So actually, by the time you hear this, it will have been put in. So yes, I should have loads and loads of Fenella yarn and more strict yarn. And I anticipate, based on you guys and what you're ordering, that I am going to be ordering lots more of that throughout the winter. It's such a good yarn. It really is. It's a workhorse yarn. It's got such a good hand on it as you're knitting with it. To me, it feels like a very substantial Shetland wool. Of course, it's not Shetland, it's from Norway, but it's got that lovely sticky kind of quality. And then after you've knitted your fabric, is just beautiful. It's perfect for baby knits or for garment knitting. It's absolutely wonderful for mittens, and I'm hoping that I fantasize that we're going to have lots of navy and white or navy cream or navy and light blue mittens, this mitten cowl that we do, but that's quite far off, isn't it? That's not till probably February. But yes, it's just a wonderful, wonderful yarn all around, and it's a great price, and it lasts forever, and it never goes out of style. So I'm really excited to have more of that coming in, and we'll get it in the shop as soon as possible. There's going to be more little grey sheep. We have done well with the first round that we had of the Hampshire DK. It is such a fluffy, lovely yarn that you guys have really embraced it. So thank you for that. I only have a little bit of it left right now. So my order went in and we're getting more of the DK to replace what's sold. And then we're looking at stocking the 4-ply, so the fingering weight, because it's very, very pretty yarn and it's got a great story. And Emma, the farmer, with her shearer Susie, do a fantastic job. So I feel this is a really lovely, independent, very small and independent yarn supporting British wool. So can't go wrong with that. So I'm looking forward to getting more of that in. And Ullcentrum, I mentioned earlier, that just went in the shop a couple of weeks ago and is doing great. This is a worsted weight, though I think it's a light worsted weight yarn. It has Gotland in it. It's got a lovely silky quality. It's a 3-ply, so it does cables really well because it's such a nice round yarn, though I don't think the twist is so tight. So it's got a lovely softness about it. I would love to knit a sweater out of that. I did knit a hat just to have a play with it, but I think a sweater in that would be really quite wonderful. And in fact, that's what Sarah of Fibre Trek is using for her Oa, which is a colourwork sweater by Kate Davies. Kate used her own yarn for it, which is a DK, and Sarah's using this 3-ply worsted weight for it. So she's planning it to be more of an outer layer than an inner sweater, but it's absolutely stunning, very beautiful, and you can see a close-up of it on the shop website under the Ullcentrum page. And Mondum is doing great and in great supply. And I have ordered the yarn that will be for the lovely bobbly sweater that's going to appear in Lina 6. So I should have a few colours of that for you. And I chose the ones that are fall colours and over-dyed on grey. Quite beautiful. So I'm looking forward to getting those. Yeah, so in books, we have Wildwood by Marie Wallin. This is her brand new book, and this book is very similar in shape and size and look to her phenomenally successful book, Shetland. These are more garments and accessories designed by Marie Wallin and knitted using her brand new yarn called British Breeds. And so she is launching her own yarn with this book. The Woolly Thistle will be one of the select few shops to be selling that yarn here in the US and Canada. So I'm very excited and honoured for that. And her book will be she's taking pre-orders over at her website right now, so you can pre-order from there right now. But I will be opening up pre-orders shortly, as I will be the distributor of this book here in North America. And so I'll be opening up pre-orders shortly. As far as I know, the books are actually on their way right now. It should be in the water by the time you hear this, on a boat sailing over. So not too much longer to wait for that. As soon as I get confirmation that they're here and all arrived safely and on their way to me, I will open up pre-orders. And as I mentioned, I am the distributor of this book. So if you're a retailer or you want your local yarn store to stock this lovely book, then please get in touch and let me know. I have an email which is wholesale@thewoollythistle.com, and retailers, you can go straight onto the shop and click on the bottom where it says wholesale, and you can apply for a wholesale account, which will give you entry into that part of the shop. So it's all very exciting. There are, again, a couple of sweaters in that book that I am dying to knit. One, they're not all colour work. There's a lot of colour work, and then there's some lovely lacy stitch design. And she tends to mix her lace with her cables, which is a really nice look. So yeah, there's plenty to knit in this book, and it's beautifully photographed with her model that she always uses. So it's got a lovely look about it. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on that, as well as the yarn. The yarn will follow a little bit later. So the Vintage Shetland project is on its way. There was a sizable hiccup right at the end of the print run, unfortunately, so that has caused a delay. But that has all been sorted now. The books are perfect, and as I'm recording this, they are on the way to the shipper. So from the shipper, though, it still has to get on the boat and go through all its customs checks, arrive and go through all the customs checks on this side, and then be delivered by truck to me. So there's still a little ways of time to go, but I will keep you up to date. If any retailers are listening, I am doing my best to get them here as soon as possible, and I will keep the website up to date with the status on that, as well as keep you up to date with a newsletter. And so we will get those as soon as we get them. They're coming. And in the shop, we have lots of great kits available to you. Brand new in the shop is the Scalloway Tam Kit, and this is another Marie Wallin kit. And I got the Jamieson Spindrift in just for this kit. This is a lovely tam hat with colour work, and it's all in the original colours that she used in her Shetland book. So those are up in the shop and available for you. Peary Fleurs by Kate Davies is back in the shop. These come with lovely stitch markers and a Woolly Thistle bag. The Scalloway Tam Kit comes with a Woolly Thistle bag too. The Ola sweater by Ella Gordon is a lovely sweater, and that kit has done really well. So there's more of those in the shop. And the Fair Isle Kep kit, which is a good kit. This always does well. That is back in stock as well. And the Ato shawl kit, we will be having a cal for that after the sweater cal. And unfortunately, I had great hopes of hosting a cal when that pattern came out. But unfortunately, I just couldn't get my act together to do it. But we are managing to do that after the sweater cal. So there are still Ato kits in the shawl. And of course, this is the shawl formerly known as Shibui. And the pattern for this was in Lina 4. So we have more of those. And so lots of lovely shawls for you to peruse and think about. There's something really nice about knitting from a shawl, because you don't have to think too much about the yarn and the quantities. It's all done for you. So there's no Coopcast this episode, but I will work diligently to get a Coopcast to you in the next episode, which I hope will be in another couple of weeks. I think all that's left to say now is, if you go out, take your knitting. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to New Hampshire Knits. You can find the Ravelry group at NH Knits. You can find me on Ravelry as NHK Claire, on Instagram NH_knits, and you can email me at nhknits001@gmail.com. And you can find the Woolly Thistle all over the internet at the Woolly Thistle with 2 L's in Woolly.